And I'm most excited about what came to me at 4 a.m. in the morning, one day this week. And a mystical experience that I've had as well with regard to, and it all ties into the topic for today, but let's do some quick centering first, and then I'll tell you all why I'm talking about all of this today. And I am so looking forward to how we're going to end. That to me is the best part because of what I was inspired to share. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. But let's get centered. Okay. If you're in a place, I know some of you are like running around, probably doing errands, listening with your earphones in, or some of you are present, fully present, but if we can get as present as we possibly can, just be aware of the room that you're in, the seat that you're sitting in, the energy in your physical body. Just get as present as you can. Feel the aliveness in your body. Be here, fully present here. Deep breath. Second. Third. As you release the third, just release everything you brought in today and just be fully present. I'm asking now for my divine team and all of the non-physical teams that are present for this event, because everyone brought their own team. And I'm so glad to have so many divine beings present for this gathering to help us get even clearer on our journeys here and all that we are here to do in the world. I ask for this to be an amazingly uplifting experience, not only uplifting, but causing such tremendous expansion and new awareness and new insights. I ask for all of the things that are going to come out of my mouth. I ask for it to be divinely inspired. And I ask for, even as I go along looking at my notes, if there's anything further that Spirit wants me to share, please interject and allow me to hear you clearly and speak clearly your words. I ask for everything that comes forward today to be remarkably divinely inspired for the evolution of all the souls present and for everyone who may be listening and watching this afterward. And to that, I say, so it is. Okay, so why did I pick the topic, navigating 3 vibrational states? It was because during our last event, a couple of you, when we were talking about how to become in vibrational resonance with our desires and how to be predominantly walking in the vibration of what is preferred and how to embody the vibration of what is preferred. And some of you said, it just doesn't feel real to me when I think about my vibrational reality. It doesn't feel real. And it feels like I'm faking it. It feels like if I try to think about the fact that my desires are truly done, it doesn't feel visceral enough to me. That doneness doesn't feel visceral enough to me. And so I'm going to start out with the 3 vibrational states, because sometimes it depends on your vibrational state, what you're in the vibrational vicinity in. So if you're in a vibrational state that is not resonant with your desire, then you can't really feel it because you're not in the vibrational vicinity. So I'll start out with the vibrational states first, and then I'll end with what I will title, what if this is the ultimate manifestation? And the it, I'll share with you in a moment later on. We have all kinds of green screen issues today. Okay, so today we'll take a bit of a journey. I have a lot of notes because my brain couldn't hold everything that was coming to me. So I'll be looking at my notes, but I'm remaining open for Spirit to interject as well. So we're going to journey through the experience of how do you move into that vibrational state of what is desired. Becoming aware of your own vibrational state is part of that as well. So that's why I'm covering that today. And then we are going to together move into the vibrational state of desires. We're going to do that today. And that's the part that I'm really excited about. And it's going to be focused on, well, not really focused on, well, we'll get there. I'll get there when I get there. I want to open with two quick examples of vibrational states from a relationship perspective, because, and I'll talk about why I shared that. So I was watching YouTube a few weeks ago, and one of the channels that I watch, it's a spiritual woman, and she had a friend of hers pass away. And she was in deep grief, which is a very, very dense emotion, as we know. But she was in deep grief, and her child came home from school. And as the child walked in the door, she was doing some chores or whatever, and the child started to talk about something that happened at school that day, something unpleasant that happened at school that day. And she stopped him halfway through and she said, I can't hold that. I can't hold that right now. Meaning I have no vibrational energy left to support you in this experience that you had at school today. And I thought it was really cool that she was aware of her vibrational state, because oftentimes as parents or spouses or significant others or friends or whatever, especially family, we can assume that our family members, our lovers, our significant others, our children, our spouses, because they're present in our lives, we can assume that they should always be able to support us. They should always be there for us. They should always be able to have a talk with us when we feel like we need support. But I think it's important to be aware that, and I think it's a good idea to ask people if they're available to support you, in that moment, because you don't know what's on their mind. You don't know the energy that they're in. You don't know their vibrational state. So I thought it was really cool that she was able to assess her own vibrational state and also communicate to her child, I can't be there for you right now. I am so low. I have nothing left right now. I can't support you in this life experience you had at school. So I thought that was really cool. Another example was Brené Brown. She's written a lot of different books. They don't resonate for me. Probably about 15 years ago, I bought all of her books because I've always been a self-help junkie. I bought all of her books. Now they don't resonate with me because I find them to be very three-dimensional, very, I'm in a different, haven't had my spiritual awakening. They just don't resonate for me. But one of the things that she shared in a video way back then was she looks at the marital union as a 100%. So husband and wife team is 100%. And one of the things that she does with her spouse is at the end of the day, when they both come home, they would check in with each other. And because they have established this awareness that 100% is both of us fully charged, and they would check in with each other and they was like, how are you doing today? And so on a day where she may come home and go, I'm 25, like that's all I got. The husband may say, I got you. I'm full on 80. We can do this together. We're good. We've got 100% because I've got 80 to give. You only got 20. That's good. I'll support you with my 80%, right? And that was a really cool way to check in with each other before you assume that, because sometimes we can come home and our family members are there and we're like, and we just unleash, right? Assuming that they have the capacity to be there for us, and they may not. So I thought that was a really cool way to check in with a significant other and say, what you got? I got 20, you got 80. one of the things that she shared too is if they both come in and they both are like, I got 20, and the other person says, I got 10. So together, we got 30% for each other. We don't have 100%. We are not fully charged. And if that ever happens, what they would say to each other is, okay, let's sit down and come up with a plan for how we can be kind to each other and support each other. Let's not bother about cooking today. Let's order takeout. Let's order pizza. Let's tell the kids to leave us alone. Do you need to go for a walk? Do you need to meditate? Let's support each other here because we're not running at full capacity. And I thought that was a really cool way to connect with a significant other when you've been apart for a while, to check in and say, what's your vibrational state? So that you are much more aware of how communication can flow in that moment, you know, because sometimes the person may need some alone time. They may need to go meditate. They may need to go for a walk in the park. They may need to go sit out in nature, you know, and when you know where the person's vibrational state is, you know how to interact in that moment. So I thought that was really cool as well, even though her books don't resonate for me anymore. But similarly, our current vibrational state sort of dictates what we are available for, you know, just like that mom couldn't be available for her child, just like Brene Brown was talking about, neither of us can be really available to each other. So let's call in help, let's call in backup, let's, you know, let's do things that would be kind, you know, exhibit kindness to each other in this lower vibrational state that we're in. So sometimes we're just not in the vibrational vicinity of it, right? So here's what we're going to flow through today. We'll become much more aware of what contributes to our vibrational state. And then we'll get clear on what may be the easiest path for us to take, given what we know about our vibrational state. Then we'll take a much closer look, this is what I'm really excited to share, at what's really beneath the feelings of disconnection from our vibrational reality. Like what's at the core there, right? And then, as I mentioned before, we'll walk right into a vibrational reality in a really easy and effortless way together. And my hope is that you all will feel the shift from what I'm sharing. So let's start with sort of raising our awareness to what is contributing to our vibrational state. So again, it tells us, you know, it helps us to know, being aware of our vibrational state helps us to know what we're capable of in that moment, right? So what is contributing to our vibrational state can be many things, but I'll summarize the top things that I tend to look at. Number one is where am I spiritually? Where am I with my inward focus? Awareness of my true self, relationship with my higher self. That's where I start. Where am I in my relationship to my inner being, my higher self, right? My awareness there. Fuel and food. That's why I went and grabbed that banana bread in the start of our event here when I realized, oh, I have no fuel to move with. And I know we're going to be here for at least 2, maybe 3 hours today. So not only have I eaten, but what have I eaten? So for me, whenever my body, my physical body feels off, I ask myself 2 questions. What did I eat? What did I not eat? So if I eat any kind of junk food, I just don't feel optimal. I just don't. My body feels kind of sluggish, especially if I just snarfed a bunch of carbs, you know, if I'm not eating clean, my physical body does not feel optimal. I feel kind of sluggish. I feel kind of sleepy. I feel like, kind of meh. So I tend to ask myself, when I feel like that, I tend to ask myself, what did I eat? What did I not eat? So fuel and food can throw us off sometimes. Rest, of course, if we're not sleeping well, we're not in an optimum state, okay? I know for me, if I'm in my bed, you know, now that I'm sort of synchronized with my body's circadian rhythm, I'm climbing into bed 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I don't get out of bed until 6:30, 7 in the morning. Sometimes I just lay there until 8 o'clock in the morning. So I get a lot of rest, and rest is very, very important to me because I work out a lot. But and by the way, a real cool tip that I learned from Trevor Blake, who's the author of 3 Simple Steps. You guys may have, some of you came to know me through Trevor Blake. He and I did some webinars and things together back then, many years ago, in the early stages of my spiritual awakening. But in his book, 3 Simple Steps, he often said, you know, instead of saying I'm so tired, you can say I can use some energy, which opens you up to receiving energy rather than the focus on being tired. So I often say that to myself now, if I didn't get quite enough sleep, like last night, I was tossing and turning with this event on my mind. And I don't think I fell asleep until like midnight. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta be so tired. I'm like, no, I don't have to be tired. I could be energized. I could like call in the energy, you know? And of course I could sleep until 9-10 o'clock, which is what I did today. So rest is something that is very important to our vibrational state. Sometimes we don't even realize that. Although I will say, a lot of activity can be fueling as well, energetically, because if you're enthusiastically doing something that you're passionate about, like y'all know me, if I stumble upon a new hobby or something like that, I am in front of my screen all day long, learning and trying things out, and I can go into high activity mode because I'm so passionate about what's happening. But for the most part, check in with yourself. How much rest am I getting? And if you're not getting enough rest and something is preventing that from happening, you have to be gentle with yourself. You know, it's kind of like Brene Brown and her husband. Let's just see how we can be kind to each other. And if you're not getting any rest, then you should be seeing how, you know, you can be kind to yourself until you are able to get rest. You know, sometimes moms in particular, we tend to always want to take care of our kids and we don't put ourselves first. And I think it's really important to check in with ourselves. Did I get enough rest before I start taking care of everybody else? You know what I mean? And I think it's important to communicate to our family members and especially our kids, I am exhausted, can't do much today. So here's what we're going to do. Here's the plan. You know what I mean? The other thing that I check in with myself on too is hydration. I drink half a gallon to a gallon of water a day. And there's this really cool book that it's really hard to read, so I can't say I highly recommend it, although there's some YouTube videos on it that's really good. But it's called You're Not Sick, You're Just Thirsty. And it's this, the one thing I don't like about these kinds of books is like when they discover something, they go, this is the cure for everything. And that's kind of how he comes at it. But the book is really interesting when you think about how much your body needs water. And he sort of, there's this physician who was, I can't remember what the circumstances were, but he ended up being thrown in prison. And then people in prison were coming to him and he had nothing to give them. So he just gave them water. And all of a sudden, all of their symptoms started disappearing for whatever they came to him for. And he went, wait a minute, what is this? I'm just giving them water. And he started making all of these discoveries about all these different ailments that we have at times, Alzheimer's included, by the way, because when people get old, they stop drinking water. That's how my dad passed. He just at a certain point, of course, he probably chose that way to go. But my dad was 96. And he just stopped drinking water and all of his bodily functions just started to shut down. And I think that's what happens with a lot of elderly. They don't think to drink water, you know, and there's a lot of all these symptoms. I found I found it fascinating, all of the discoveries that were made around how the lack of water contributes to a lot of the symptoms that even arthritis and all these different things in our bodies, and all our bodies is crying out for. I think that was one of the titles of the book too, is Our Bodies Cries for Water. But it was really fascinating. So hydration is really important to me. Whenever I feel a little like, you know, weird in my body, I go, how much water did I get today? And usually I get at least a half a gallon in me every day, closer to a gallon some days as well. So check your hydration as well. Movement and exercise and nature walks are very important to me. If my body is not moving, I do not feel optimal. And I think our bodies were made to move, you know? So even if the only thing you do, I tend to do a lot of calisthenics and weightlifting and, you know, all these different things, aerobics and all of that. But even if you just walk, even if you just walk. For me, I start to notice that I could literally feel the muscles in my body starting to atrophy if I go a week without my calisthenics and weightlifting and all of that. I can literally feel my body going, do something, you know, if I get lazy and I stop working out. So for me, walking, just walking. I mean, there are so many videos on YouTube about just choosing to walk 30 minutes a day, right? And the amazing impact it can have on your body. So my body feels best and highly optimal when I exercise daily. And the last one that's a checkpoint for me is how much am I doing what I'm passionate about? And some of you may have full-time jobs and it's not your passion, but you have, you know, you go into work every day. But how much of your time are you carving out to give to your passion, the thing that you're truly, truly passionate about? So those are the checkpoints that I normally use whenever I feel vibrationally off. It's not always I need to go meditate, which, you know, that's part of spiritual journey for a lot of people. I don't meditate that much. I have a lot of stillness. So I do ask myself, how much stillness have I had? Have I been out in nature? That kind of thing is very fueling for me. But it's not just the spiritual stuff. We are living in physical bodies that can affect our mindset and how we're thinking. Hydration and food affects how we're thinking, you know, and what we're thinking about and how well we're able to bounce back, you know. So a lot of these things contribute to our vibrational state without us even being aware of it. Okay, so that I'm complete with that. Things to be aware of when we're sort of assessing our vibrational state. Now I'm going to go into the 3 vibrational states and sort of how to move through them. And I picked 3 because Spirit gave me a message a long time ago about that. And I just kind of sat with more on it as I was preparing for this event. So I'll start with where we tend to grapple the most, and that's when our vibrational state feels very dense and heavy. So our vibe feels very heavy. It doesn't feel expansive. It feels constricted. It feels like, you know, we're just not in a good place. So the emotions that tend to go along with that is despair, hopelessness, powerlessness, grieving, depression, a sense of deep unworthiness, fear, rage, anger. All of these human emotions tend to be in that very dense frequency. Usually when we're there, there's a very strong current at play when we're there. So it feels challenging to climb out of it. So it often feels like effort if we try to do things that we can typically easily do in a high vibrational state. So when we're thinking about connecting with our vibrational reality and feeling like it's really real, if we're in this dense, heavy vibe, it's not the best time to think about the things that we want to manifest because we're just not in the vibrational vicinity of it. And I think sometimes, as I said in the video that I did on the vibrational paradox, when we're there, we most want to get out. We most want to manifest the opposite of that. We most want to feel the opposite of that, but the reaching for that opposite side of the vibrational spectrum can create more frustration. It can create irritation, right? If somebody tells us, oh, just go visualize, just go, you know, whatever. And we're trying to do that. We're trying to like reach for all these practices and stuff that made us feel good in the past, but we're not in the vibrational vicinity of it. So if we try to activate all of those things, we just feel more and more irritated. So I think what we most need in those dense frequencies is soothing. We're raw, we're really agitated, we're really in a darker, denser energy. And soothing is what we most need. Gentle soothing is what we most need. And even though what we most want is to manifest something in the opposite direction of that, right? And why do we want to do that? I think sometimes there's this fear that if I don't try to get out of this, I'll manifest more of what I'm feeling right now. If I don't do something to get out of this, emotional funk, I won't be able to manifest what I want. And right now I'm thinking about only bad stuff, and I'm scared that I'm going to manifest even more of that bad stuff. You know what I mean? And so it's like we're spiraling into this place of even more density when we're trying to get out of the density. So some ways in which we can navigate this particular state, I have a few things that I can share here. And again, take what resonates, discard what does not as we go through this entire event, as I always say. But one of the things that's powerful for me is just to be still. Just be still. Go into stillness. Sometimes meditation, but not meditation to create anything. It's just, I just want to be still. I just want to be observant of my breath, the energy in my body. I just want to go cloud gaze and just be in a more spacious thing. I just want to be out in nature. And move into a state of less thinking, less trying to figure things out, move out of the problem solving phase, and just become more aware of who I am. I'm not this body, I'm not this problem, I'm not these emotions, I'm not these feelings. So what am I? I'm infinite. I'm source incarnated. Everything is fine. Everything will work out just fine. We can move when we're in that place of just giving ourselves the gift of stillness. Yes, the mind will probably start going, you have to figure this out. How about try to, right? Just watch the thoughts, just observe the thoughts, just look at it. Just don't let the mind. One of the things that has been really helpful to me in terms of the rampant thoughts that can move through our mind is I have fully accepted that the mind is just a part of the physical apparatus. What do I mean by that? All these thoughts that are coming up, we can go, those are my thoughts, or we can just say, the mind is heavily at work right now. I go in that direction. I'm in this physical body, which is not what I am, but I'm in this physical body, and this physical body has this thing called the mind, and it is a thought machine. I think of it as like a bubble machine that kids play with in the summers, they're spewing out bubbles. So I think of the mind like that. It is always spewing out thoughts. If you are awake, your mind is like a bubble machine spewing out thoughts. But the less you identify with it, and the more you see it as, it's just a thought machine. It's just a thought machine. And all these thoughts are coming up. They're just coming up. They aren't yours per se. Ponder that for a second. Maybe they're not mine. Maybe they're just bubbling up because that's what the mind does. Maybe my mind is really just a thought machine. And the way that has helped me is, as I have thoughts coming up, I don't grapple with the fact that they're present anymore. It's like, mind doing its thing, thought machine, bubbling up, go ahead, do your thing. And I don't feel as connected to the thoughts of my mind, because one of the things we do is we go, why did I have that thought? I shouldn't have that thought. And we make it ours. And I found that the less I made it more about me and made it more about, it's just a thing that this physical body does. It just burps up all kinds of thoughts, right? Some of it's weird, some of it's strange. Why am I having this thought? I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's just a thought machine at work. And I literally see my mind as a thought machine. It's always spewing out endless thoughts. It's not mine, it's just in this physical body. And so that has helped me to become very easily detached from what's happening in the mind, especially in dense frequencies where the mind is like, what if this happens? What if that happens? Right? I go, you are really revving it up today, and I view it as this part of the physical apparatus that's not me per se. I am the true me. My true self is not having those thoughts. My true self is chill. It's absolutely chill right now. my thought machine is revved up because of this situation or circumstance or whatever, but it's not me. It's just the thought machine doing its thing. And I can watch it do its thing. I can literally sit here and go, "Ooh, that's a lot that you're spewing out." That's a whole lot. And I don't feel like it's mine and it's me. And you identify so strongly with what's coming out of the thought machine that you start to condemn yourself for what's coming out of the thought machine. It's just a thought machine, right? And that's kind of how I see the thoughts that are coming up. So I just become the observer of them. And it's when you're in that dense frequency, just watch it. That's a lot. That's a lot. You've been here before, haven't you? I say that to my thoughts sometimes. Those recurrent thoughts. Okay, you've been here before. Yeah, I'm just gonna watch you. Not gonna dance with you today. Just gonna watch you. You'll go away. Because thoughts don't like being stared at. The more you just watch them, the more they fizzle out and disappear, is what I have found. The other thing that is helpful for me, and I shared this in the video on how to regain our confidence and trust, is impermanence. I often remind myself that whatever is at play is 100% impermanent. Whatever we're wrestling with, 10 years from now, we wouldn't even remember that we were wrestling with that thing. It would seem so minor and so insignificant. So I often remind myself, this is here now. It is what it is. It's here now. It's not going to be here forever. All of nature, all of everything in humanity, everything in this earthly realm is impermanent. And everything that's coming up right now, impermanent. I will move through and past this and it'll be over, So while I'm here, I'm just going to be with what is and see what's here for me, right? The other thing that I often turn to is full surrender, as I shared in the past. And the video that I did on the vibrational paradox, I went into a lot of that, so I won't spend a lot of time here on that. But it's what are we surrendering to? For me, is I surrender to my higher self. I'm not surrendering to the situation. I'm surrendering to my higher self. I want to feel like I am giving it all to the aspect of me that can handle it all. And that's my higher self, my inner being, right? And so I'm like, this is all yours. This is all yours. I'm not going to try to do anything right now. I just am not in the vibration where I have much to offer right now. The frequency is too dense right now. And so I'm just going to surrender to you. I'm just going to surrender to you. I also, in that full surrender to my higher self, is where I often ask the question, my inner being is real chill right now, not worked up about this. My inner being is completely at peace. So, dear inner being, help me to see what you're seeing. Help me to know what you're knowing. Help me to see through the eyes of my inner self, my higher self, my divine self. Help me to see that. And I just sit there. Oftentimes it comes to my mind immediately and I speak it out loud to myself. Sometimes I record it on my iPhone, because one of the things that we're tremendous at as human beings is forgetting. That's the name of the game in this realm, is forgetting. So I often grab my iPhone and speak it out to myself, like, what is the perspective that my inner being has that I can tap into? What are you seeing that I'm not seeing? And our inner being is always seeing that this too shall pass, honey. You're fine. This too shall pass. And the more you see that this too shall pass, the quicker it passes, and the more you move in the vibration of this has already been addressed. It's already done. Everything that I am desiring with regard to this is already done. The more you can move into that, because your inner being's already seeing that it's done. Your inner being is already seeing the solutions, right? Your inner being is already seeing that, girl, you have no idea where you're going to be a year from now. You have no freaking clue. Don't even bother thinking about this little thing that's happening right now. You have no clue what's coming. You're going to be in such an amazing place that you won't even remember this moment. Your inner being knows that, right? And so oftentimes it's worth pausing to see, what does my inner being know that I can become more aware of, The other thing that I look at in those dense frequencies is what's here for me? What's here for me? Because everything that's occurring in those denser frequencies has a gift of greater awareness, greater knowing, expansion, just more awareness, the things that we didn't see before. And we're more able to see what it's here for when we shift our focus from what's playing out physically and what's playing out mentally and emotionally. And the focus becomes curiosity. So if this were here for me, what would it be here for? And your mind, because you choose that focus, your mind goes in that direction. And you start becoming really curious, at least this is the way it plays out for me. I start becoming really curious because I choose that as a focus rather than the circumstance or the physical ailment, whatever. I choose, what is this here for? And that question just sparks curiosity. And then my what ifs start to come up. What if this is here for me to see how I can heal myself? What if this is here for me to see how much more love can come about as a result of this jarring experience that I'm having? What if this is happening so that I can perceive others in a kinder, gentler way? What if this is happening? And so I go into curiosity, and that for me removes the focus on what's playing out, and I am in discovery mode now, right? It's like I'm in a gold mine mining for gold. There's gold in this. There's always gold in it. There's always gold in it, gold in the circumstance or situation. Anything that has ever happened to us in our lives, there's gold in it. It's so interesting to me when I hear other people tell their horrific stories of how they grew up and the circumstances within which they grew up and all that. And oftentimes, especially people who are on a spiritual path, will say, I wouldn't change a thing because this is who it made me. This is who I am. I am who I am as a result of everything that I have traversed so far. For example, in my life, I was born a very happy soul, so we're always very upbeat, and I always see the brighter side of things and all that. That's my natural temperament. Yet I went into suicidal depression for a decade of my life in my first marriage, and ended up in a mental institution. I mean, it was so the opposite of my natural self, right? Attempted suicide more than once. And despite all of that, I would if I look back on that, I was like, I could see what that birthed within me. I could so clearly see who that birthed within me. So it's interesting that when we're in the dark moments, when we're in the dense moments, we don't perceive it. But one of the things that I started to do whenever I'm in those dense situations too, curiosity is a big part of it. But I also started saying, I wonder who I'm going to be on the other side of this. What if 4 months from now, 3 months from now, this really turned me into an entirely different person, stronger, wiser, more patient, more loving, more aware of my infinite, limitless self? What if that's what this is here for? I wonder who I'll become on the other side of this. And I start almost envisioning or daydreaming about the person I'll be on the other side of this. And there's a sense of looking forward to, because I live in this awareness that everything is here for me. And if it's here for me, it's shaping who I am. And if it's shaping who I am, I wonder who I'll be on the other side of this. That happened massively for me at the end of my second marriage. In the moment that I became very much aware that that marriage was complete, I laid in bed that day and I was like, now what's next? I literally was lit up, and it wasn't because it was a bad marriage. It was an amazing marriage. But I was laying there going, if this is complete, what's starting? Like something new is starting here. And I, for whatever reason, like went in the direction of what's starting here. What's my life going to become? It's now just me. Like, what's going to happen as a result of this? Like, who am I going to become on the other side of this? I'm nobody's wife now. I'm like, what is this going to create within my life? Like, what can I do with this? And I just became so focused on the ending of anything is always the beginning of something else. So part of me was like, I wonder what this is going to create, as a result. And that was in the early stages of my awakening, which is why I was able to go there. I started seeing everything as it is as it should be. So I wasn't as traumatized as people typically are by the ending of a relationship, because my focus was on what is this here for? Like, who am I going to become now? And what else is going to happen now? So I think it's really beneficial to get curious about what it's here for. Another thing that has been really powerful for me is when we feel a really dense emotion like despair or discouragement or fear or anger or depression or whatever. And I don't know if this will always work, but I know it has worked for me, is I get really, really quiet and I look at it. I just look at it, because sometimes when we feel all of these emotions, our gut instinct is run away from this, get back into a higher place, But sometimes the easiest path to get to that higher frequency or more soothing of where we are is to just look at what's happening. Like if I feel discouraged or if I feel like I'm running away from an emotion, I'll go, no, I'm gonna walk right toward it. And I get really, really quiet and I go, where am I feeling this in my physical body? And I try to locate, where am I feeling this? Is it in tightness in my chest? Is it in my throat? Is it, in my stomach? Usually it's in those places. And I just go right there. And I go, you're here for me. So I'm going to spend some time with you. And it's not spending time with the emotion, but it's saying, I see you and I'm coming right where you are. I'm not going to run away in fear. I'm coming right where this emotion is in my physical body. And I just go there and I go, what is the message you have for me? You're here for a reason. What's the message you have for me? And I go right where I'm feeling that emotion. Usually we can feel it in our physical bodies. It's either, tension in the head, tension in the neck, tension in the chest, tension in the stomach. It's usually in those places. And I will go right where I'm feeling it. And if I'm not feeling physical tension of any kind, I'll just go to my heart and just go, I know you're here for me. I know there's a gift in this. I know there's gold here. And I just go in. I go in right where it is, go in. Oftentimes what happens for me is just being with the energy that's here. Because here's the thing about all of the labels that we put on energy, right? We call it fear, we call it jealousy, we call it anger, we call it resentment, we call it depression, we call it all of these different things, right? But if we just stop and remove all of the labels and just go, where's the energy at? Where's the energy at? We can feel it. Peel the label off and just feel the energy. It's just energy. And the more we become aware of the energy, the more we're able to transmute it. Because it's just energy. It can turn from anger to laughter. In a minute, it can turn from anger to laughter. If we just sit there and be with it, it's okay. It's fine for you to be here because you're here as a gift. I know you are. It's fine for you to be here. I feel you. And I'm okay being here with you. So you're a gift. Within you is a gift. So I'm coming to get my gift. You go right where the emotion is. You stay there. And typically you start to see or sense something. And sometimes I go, speak to me. What's the message? Speak to me. I'm open. I'm okay with you being here. I'm not fighting you anymore. I'm okay with you being here. I know you're a gift, so you're welcomed. You're going to bring me clarity. I know it. So I'm going to let you be here and I'm going to feel it. You're just energy. It's okay. What do you want to say to me? More often than not, I get a lot calmer, a lot clearer, and the messages start to come. And I start to feel, sense, and hear what is it here for? So sometimes it's beneficial to just look, go right where it is. Go right where it is. Don't run away from it. Go right where it is. Peel the labels off. Be with the energy that's there. Ask it what it's here for. That's been really powerful for me as well. The next thing that has been really powerful for me in those times is just soothing myself. Allison, it's fine. You've been here before. You've had that thought before. You've had those emotions before, and you've always come through it. It's fine. Your higher self knows that everything's fine. It's fine. It's fine to let it go. It's totally fine. It's fine. You're going to be fine. Everything is working out for you. This too shall pass. And I use soothing things like that to myself, and that can be beneficial as well. Also, this may seem counterintuitive, but gratitude as a doorway to higher frequencies. Not with an agenda, because sometimes we go, okay, let me find something to be grateful for so I don't feel this way. No, spend your time with the energy, okay? Give yourself the opportunity to experience the gift. But oftentimes what happens is we can find, despite everything that's happening, you can find the opportunity to be grateful, especially when you go look and you just be with the energy and you become so aware that it's always a gift. Like how can you not be grateful for the gift that's wrapped up in this moment? Right? This dense frequency moment has a gift and it's here for you. I'll share a story of a video I watched the other day. This woman's son took his own life. Very traumatic, very traumatic. And she went to his funeral. But before that happened, she had set a really strong intention for her life to always live in a state of gratitude, always find something to be grateful for. And so in that moment at the funeral, she sat in her car outside, funeral had just happened and she sat in her car. And she said, how can I find anything to be grateful for in the midst of this? And the thought came to her, I'm grateful for these sunglasses that are hiding my bloodshot, teary eyes. That's all she could find to be grateful for in that moment. There's always something to be grateful for. If we can expand our perspective, because sometimes we're so myopically focused. We're like into this situation, right? One of the things that I do is I call it panning out. So when I'm like microscopically focused on this one thing this person said that irritated me, I'm like really burrowing myself in that thing or burrowing myself into that challenge or situation or problem or whatever. I was like, this entire life is a movie. So let's just pretend the camera is on me right now. And I put the camera in the ceiling right? I'm like, camera's on, right? And I see myself from the ceiling. And then I see myself, like I move the camera out to my yard, and the movie scene is from the yard, and I'm in the house on my bed grappling with this thing. And so I see it from that angle, right? And then I pan out and I move the camera even further out. The camera is sort of above my, it's one of those drones, and it's above my city. So now I'm seeing through the lens of the drone that's seeing the city, that's seeing my house, my yard, that's seeing me sitting on my bed. So I start panning out, panning out, panning out, panning out. And then I'm all the way outside, like outside of Earth. And I'm like, the camera is now looking at Earth, that's looking at the United States, that's looking at this city, this state, which is looking at, and then I'm like, when you pan out like that, you start to see a very different perspective, because sometimes we can get so pulled into like one thing that we forget that the rest of the world is moving, you know, and it's like, it feels bigger when we're so focused on it. But when we pan out to the fact that we're like this little, there I am, this little dot on a bed. If you pan out from the perspective of Earth revolving all by itself in space, and I'm on this revolving ball, and I appear like a dot, I'm so tiny, and I'm so focused on this one thing while I'm spinning in space. And when you start looking at things from a panning out perspective, it starts to feel almost laughable. So gratitude as a doorway to higher frequencies is another way to soothe yourself out of dense frequencies. The other thing that I wanted to touch upon, because some of the dense frequencies we feel at times can be physical, right? So we're in physical pain, we're in physical discomfort. But one of the things that we can become remarkably aware of is decoupling the physical pain from the emotional and mental misery, right? So we have all met people who have been intensely ill, yet they have a really high vibration, like they're sick, but they're doing massive things in the world, even as they're sick. There's this guy on YouTube has really inspired me from a philanthropic place. He has a brain tumor. What's his name? Oh my gosh, I forget his name. It's escaping me right now. If I do the recording of this on YouTube, I'll flash it on screen. But he just goes through the world gifting people things, like giving people, oh, he drives around this vehicle called the Dream Machine, and he'll pull up to a McDonald's, and the person in the window, he'll go, "What's your dream?" And they'll be like, you know, taken aback, and they'll share what their dream is. And then he'll go like buy them a plane ticket to go experience their dream, or buy them, you know, a new guitar so that they can practice, you know, their passion of being a guitarist. And he'll just make their dream come true right there. And he's doing all of this with a brain tumor that's present. You know, I actually haven't seen him in a while, so I'm a little bit concerned too about what may be happening for him. But he didn't let that stop him. He's like, no, this is what I'm here to do in the world, is help make people's dreams come true. And there's countless stories like that all over the world. The woman who called herself Nightbird, and it's Nightbird with an E at the end, who was on America's Got Talent, I think. America's Got Talent, I think it's that was the name of it. She showed up to fulfill her dream, which is really encouraging and inspiring people through her songs and all of that, with cancer all over her body. She has since passed, but has touched the lives of millions of people just by doing that. And had millions of followers on Twitter and YouTube and all these different things, because she was such a light in the midst of all of that. Like, she was on stage singing, and they asked her, why did she write that song? And she said, it's because you know, dealing with cancer. And they're like, well, how are you doing now? She goes, well, they found a lot more. And she was there living her dream, wrote a song that inspired so many people. it's absolutely possible to decouple the physical ailments that we're in. I'm not saying it's always easy, but it's always possible to decouple the physical ailments that we're feeling from the mental and emotional misery. So she was standing there singing a beautiful song to the world that was amazingly uplifting to encourage others who may be on a difficult path through all of her body being riddled with cancer. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're in those dense places, when it has to do with physical stuff. The other thing that I wanted to mention, I've been rereading Dr. Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural. And I was watching some of his videos on YouTube. Now YouTube algorithm knows that I watch Dr. Dispenza's videos, so now they're sending me all these videos. A lot of his students who have healed themselves, a lot of his work is focused on healing. But a lot of his students who have healed themselves, it's all happened through meditation, right? Just meditation to become more aware of your true self, right? So a lot of them, the meditation was so uplifting to them that they saw their healing long before their healing came. And so they were walking in their healing. They were walking in the emotion of, I am fully cured, before there was any evidence of their ailment being cured. Because sometimes this physical apparatus is just catching up to where we are vibrationally, right? It's been spun out on the focus of being sick for so long. It takes a little while for the physical apparatus, this dense, heavy physical apparatus, to catch up to the fact that we are embodying wellness now. It's like, catch up, body, I am well. I am well, and it's just so uplifting to watch how he has like 360 something videos of people who have healed themselves and moved into abundance just by meditating. Interestingly, none of his meditations really resonate with me because I don't meditate that much at all. And B, I've just never, guided meditations have never really resonated for me because my mind can't rest while somebody's talking. So for me, silent meditations are best. But listen, I am so glad he's doing what he's doing in the world. So glad. Also highly recommend his book, You Are the Placebo. Amazing, amazing. But it's always interesting to watch how much they are filled with knowing that they're healed long before their healing showed up physically. So we can live that way as well. And the last thing I'll share in that low vibration, the other two vibrations, I'll cover them really quickly before we go into the next thing that I wanted to focus on. But remember that we always have the opportunity to refocus, right? We don't have to shift, if the thing that has us tied up in a knot is money, we don't have to shift to feeling good about money. We just have to shift to feeling good. And that may be reading a book. It may be taking a nap. It may be, going out for a walk in nature. It may be calling a friend and having a conversation. It may be calling a family member and having a conversation. It may be going out to dinner with a friend or a family member. It could be any of those things that just shifts our energy, and we can find something else that feels good. That's very simple. It doesn't have to be something, some process that you sit with. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to put my feet on the grass for a few minutes. That's it. I'm just going to sit under a tree just for a minute or two. And that's all I can do right now. So those little things can help us refocus without needing to go through a process to move from one vibrational frequency to another, So the next vibration that we can be in is neither high or low. It's sort of that middle ground, and that comes with emotions like boredom, frustration, impatience, irritation, slight disappointment, slight aggravation, So what do you do in those? How do you navigate those things? I think it's always important to start with the question, what's my vibrational state? Before you decide to do anything, ask the question, what's my vibrational state? Another way to say that is, how do I feel? How do I feel? What's my vibrational state? How do I feel right now? When I think about this particular thing that has me a little slightly agitated, how do I feel? And if you feel closer to a heavier frequency, then you can go back to some of the suggestions that I said and then move into soothing yourself, just soothing yourself. That's all you need when it gets dense and sticky and staticky, is soothing yourselves using many of the things that I mentioned earlier. If you feel closer to the higher frequency, then it may be really easy to move yourself out of that, like just reminding yourself that this is all a game, this is like, none of this is real, and if we could just remind ourselves that none of this is real and we're just moving through different roles and experiences, and most importantly, none of the experiences that are arising in our lives have any meaning until we give it one. So there can be somebody with a physical ailment that gives it a meaning that they're not spiritual enough. They didn't, they failed at manifesting healing, and they can go there, right? And then there could be another person with the same exact physical ailment, and they're like, I am fucking healed. That's where I am. And I am so grateful that I am, even with everything in their body, they're feeling so great. They can't even imagine going back to the feeling of identifying with the ailment, even though the ailment is physically there. They're like, I am 100% healed. And they're so in the embodiment of that they can't even think about the ailment. So the situation, the circumstance has zero meaning. Whatever way in which you're interpreting and perceiving it is yours. You're perceiving it that way. You are choosing that meaning. And you can also decide to choose a meaning that's for your highest good, rather than for your continued vibrational density. You know what I mean? So just be aware of that as well. And in that frequency of sort of middle ground, I'm just bored, I'm just a little bit agitated or whatever, you can become a lot more playful with ways to raise your vibe. Play some fun music, dance a little bit, you know what I mean? You can do all those different things. Also sitting with your higher self, as I mentioned before, and just recognizing my higher self is completely chill about this. It ain't irritated. It's not agitated. So what can I focus on? How can I tap into what my higher self knows, what my inner being knows? So that's a very short stint on that sort of that middle ground. I spent most of the time on the denser thing because that's where we tend to grapple the most. A couple of things I want to say about the third vibrational state that we can be in, which is that light, exuberant, expansive feeling of, elevated emotions and passion, joy, empowerment, enthusiasm, happiness, optimism, strong sense of knowing, right? Of course, that is the best time to, if we're ever wanting to tune in to a desired reality, that is the best time to do it, of course. Here's something that I will share with you all, the experiences that I've been having lately. When I think about desired reality, it is so easy for me to surge into this high state of excitement over it, so much that my heart starts racing and I feel like there's so much energy in my body that I have to move. I have more than once done hill sprints with that energy because I feel so excited. Have you ever had something that you are certain is going to happen and you feel such excitement over it, you just need to jump up and down? It's like, oh my God, oh my God, right? That happens often for me. And I'm moving because I have to move the energy because the excitement is too much. And I have literally ran out of my bedroom to the back part of my property. And literally there's a little hill back there where I do hill sprints. I'm like, oh my, God. Oh my God. And it just feels so overwhelming. One of the things that I started to do with all of that energy as it arises, and I'm hoping what I'm going to take you through in a little bit is going to move you there. But one of the things that I've started to do, which we don't often think of when we're in that high frequency, passion, joy, excitement, exuberance, strong sense of knowing and all of that, is we can send some of that energy to other people. I watched one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's students. By the way, his YouTube channel is Dr. Joe Dispenza. Highly recommend. But I watched a video with one of his students that said he was in that place, right, where he was experiencing so much energy. And I guess some people with his meditation feel what I feel. I'm like, if they're doing the meditation and feeling that, I don't want to do a meditation because I'm already like crazy high when I think about things, you know, crazy. My energy gets crazy high, excited. But that's what some of his students experience through his meditation. Of course, there's bazillion meditations he has now. His meditations are also 75 minutes long. You know what I mean? Like most of his meditations are closer to an hour and or somewhere near 75 minutes. And I'm like, dude, I could just think about that in like 5 seconds and I'm there, you know. But it's, you know, not everybody is like me. You know, I'm typically running in a pretty high energy every single day. But some people, you know, they have jobs that are bogging them down. They're not in high frequency energy on a daily basis. They barely have time to meditate, you know. So I think what he's doing in the world is just so amazing. But this guy in one of his videos was describing how much energy he was feeling after doing a meditation and thinking about his desired reality and all of that. And he said, and I just, for whatever reason, I decided to send it to this friend of mine who is an alcoholic and he's on drugs. And I just started sending, every time I felt that there was too much and I couldn't handle it all, I just sent them that energy. I sent him that energy. And he said, suddenly, days later, and Show's saying this, days later, the friend calls him up and starts telling him, I don't know, I just woke up and I just can't do drugs anymore. I can't drink anymore. I don't know what it is. I feel like that's not my life anymore. I feel like I'm a completely different person. Y'all, do not doubt how energetically connected we are. Do not ever doubt how energetically connected we are. And that's one of the reasons I was inspired to do that video when they show up flawed, because whatever we're thinking about a person, whether it be sending them lots of high energy or negatively perceiving the other person, you're sending them that energy, right? Don't ever doubt how connected we are. And that's how healers do their work. You know, they're just sending energy. And I think the person has to be in a place where they want that energy, though they have to be a vibrational match in terms of, I don't want to live this way anymore. And I'm sure his friend probably got to that place and was able to receive the energy that was being sent. Don't ever doubt what you can do when you're in that high vibrational state. Don't keep it to yourself. Send it to other people. Bring people to your mind and send them that energy. Send them some of that energy. Send some of that energy to family members that who you think could really use a boost of high frequency energy. Bring, you know, as people come to mind, just send them some of that energy. The other thing that I would say in terms of navigating that high vibrational state, write it down. Write down a description of what you've been feeling. Write down what's coming to mind and how you feel about it. Because again, one of the things that we are really good at is forgetting. We are really, really, really good at forgetting. And that's one of the reasons I started to keep what I call my magical synchronicities journal, is because things happen. I go, oh, that did not just happen. And then I would forget. I wouldn't write it down. And then something else would happen. If I had that to remind myself, I'd forget less. And now it's very easy for me to remember because I wrote so many things down. So whenever your synchronicities happen, those high vibrational states happen, you send energy to someone and they kind of showed up in your space a lot differently, write those things down, capture the moment, milk the shit out of that thing. Milk the shit out of that thing. And it becomes more visceral for you when you literally write it down as well. Okay, so Now I'm going to go into the part that I mean, I was excited to share all of this too, but now I'm going to go to that second part. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I will definitely split this into two audios, two videos, because it's so lengthy. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll probably put out a video with the title, "What if this is the ultimate manifestation?"
And as we close, I just wanted to remind you to always take only that which resonates. Because your higher self, your inner being, your soul, your spirit knows what is relevant for your unique personal journey at this point in time. And it's always wise to check in with your heart to see what genuinely resonates and move forward with only that. And know that you are always free to fully trust your inner guidance above any external guidance you may receive. See you soon.